Welcome to this step-by-step tutorial on how to create a configurator in Badvisor. I will be using this website as a reference, and in this video, you will learn from how to import a 3D asset, create notes to change the color of the vehicle, background, and create the UI. To help you follow this tutorial easily, we prepared the background image and the thumbnails. So you don't need to worry about large images that will slow or make your scenes heavy. Everything is optimized to make the website full functional. The link for this model is also posted in the description, but here we worked on the materials. Therefore, if you download the asset, be aware that the result will be different. However, you can always import the asset and set the materials easy in Badvisor. For more information, please check our quick tutorials. I will start with an empty scene here and simply drag and drop my 3D asset into Badvisor. You can check under Materials and Textures that everything has been previously assigned. Here, you can do all the modifications that you need to match the reference. Go to the 3D elements in the outliner. Hide the skybox to get a transparent background, but I will show you that in a moment in the settings. You can also check here all the 3D elements of the car. Now I go to the settings and enable the transparent background. By default, Badvisor has this camera assigned, so I can open my camera, rotate, and set the distance that I want for my scene. Once I am happy with the position, I can simply click on Set from View. However, we will talk a little bit more about the camera later. Here is the scene with all the actions already prepared and assigned, as you can see here. When I click Start, the action will change the color of the body. Now I will create one action per color that I want to switch to. To do that, we need to open the material node of the 3D asset. You can either do that by searching under Materials or move your pointer on top of the 3D asset, hold Ctrl, Alt and left click to open the material node directly. Create an action node, and since I already have the black color prepared, I will name my animate node and I will map the color, roughness and metalness. This will be helpful in case of changing the brightness of the color. Another benefit in Badvisor is that you can pick up any color from outside your browser. Therefore, I created a color palette from which I will pick my colors. Now, I can open the color option on the node and simply go outside from my browser to pick up the color I want. Last but not least, I will change the duration of the frames to 30 and push all the sliders the way back. So the color, instead of snaping between them, they will smoothly transition from one to another. Badvisor uses FPS, so depending on what, you can choose different durations. You can also play with the settings in the animation node to make the transition different between them. I will do this step for each one of the nodes. I am going to speed this part, but I duplicated the node, hence the name copy. I am simply making all the animate nodes to change the color of the body just as we did before. In the end, there will be around 8 color variations for the body and 4 for the sides. Here we have all the animate nodes with the variation of the color for the body part. Now don't forget to save your scene before continuing. I have also already created all the color animations for the side part of the car. Hold Shift and Ctrl to open the material and map the properties needed. You can pause the video here and quickly create the missing nodes by doing the same as with the body. When we look into our website as a reference, the background has an image. Remember that you can download the image we provide in the video description. You can quickly drag and drop the image into the scene first, and then we will add it to the overlays. This part of the tutorial covers a little bit of CSS, so I recommend you to simply follow step by step. open your overlays to create a new one. Go to the components on your right and add one container. Here, you will see some options that you can tweak. But right now, let's focus only on dimensions. Make sure that width and height are at 100 and select percentage. Go back to components and now add a second container by drag and dropping it on your scene. This time, make the width 2100 and the height 300 to have a good size based in our reference. This time, we can go to the components and import our background image by drag and dropping the image component and selecting the background from our assets library. Select it and click on Confirm. Go to Dimensions and now input the width and height with 100%. If you go now to the Decoration menu, here I am going to add some radius. In the corner, I think around 25 looks good. Here you can change the color like in our reference. You can choose the color by clicking in the color selection or giving the exact hex color. And that's it. If we go back, we can see that our background image is in the scene but is positioned in front of our 3D asset. In order to fix that quickly, go back to the overlays and here in the top part, change the Z index to -1. After doing that, the 3D elements will remain in the front, or rather, the image will always remain in the rear side as a background. Now that we successfully have our background in the scene, I am going to check the reference and generate all the different colors. Because for each model, there is a different background, or most of them. This is now fairly easy to do. I go back to the overlays and I will duplicate this one. If I open the option, I can see now both overlays and I will proceed to change the name of this one to background red. Go back to my 3D view and hide it from my overlays list. Now I can open my next overlay, change the name, go to Decorations, select the image on the scene to go straight to the image properties. Delete the current background color and choose a different one. Now that you know how to duplicate the overlays, I will quickly finish the remaining ones. You can pause the video and also finish all the overlays before we continue with the next step. Here, I have all the overlays for each configurator. I can hide and show all the different backgrounds I created. But now, I need to create an action to switch these backgrounds interactively. Just as I created different actions to change the color of my 3D asset, I can also do that with my images. So here in Actions, I search for the node Overlays. This node will allow you to enable and disable a lot of different options of your overlays, but for now, I will only enable one background at a time. I change the name to the corresponding background and select the color red in this case. Under Disable, I will select the remaining overlays by also checking the boxes, and then I will duplicate this node. I'm going to rename this node to yellow and switch both overlays in these fields. You can also check which overlays you have selected. Now when I click on Start, it will show one of the images and hide the rest of them. Remember that you can always go back to the overlays if you want to change the color of the image. Now I will quickly create the actions for the rest of my overlays. I have almost all the main actions nodes ready. As you can see here, I created all the overlay nodes to switch the background. We already have all the nodes for the colors, but we are missing one important animate node. I want a last action node that will reset my camera into a default position. So now I open my camera And as I mentioned before, I will talk a little bit deeper about the camera settings. You can pause the video to copy the current values after. This section will show you the current distance and angle of the camera and below the position. You can type directly the values if you need. For example, if we want to avoid moving our camera, we can set these exact values, then under Advanced, we can reduce the pan sensitivity to 0, and this will keep our asset in the position we want. I also want to change the lens a little bit to change the perspective. So here, I will input 80, but this will affect my distance. I can zoom in or out, but if I want to limit this, I can open this section and input my distance to 6 and here to 18. After fixing your camera, you will need to click again, Set from View to save the new position. My camera angle will also be limited here by 0 and 90, so I cannot rotate my camera under the model. Now, I can enable my mapping on the Reset Camera node and select these three values: distance and the angles. Because I set the pan sensitivity to 0, I do not need to map any other information. Disable the map properties and move the camera slides to the end so the transition will look nicer. Now, if I move my camera and click on Start, it will softly goes back into its default position. Alright, now we have all the needed action nodes for the configurator, but I want something that will trigger all my actions at the same time. For that, I will bring some of the nodes based on my reference. I will go to my actions and add a timeline. With the help of this node, I can trigger all my other actions at once, or I can also arrange a time of triggering by moving the slide and setting a time frame. I will now rename the timeline to its corresponding set, and note also that the camera reset needs to be connected on each timeline. Now, I will create the rest of my timelines for all the colors. Now I have all the timelines created, but in our reference, we can notice that there are some other things that we can do to improve our scene. First, there are some nice lighting that we can add. Therefore, in my scene, I will go to the outliner and add a directional light. I will increase its intensity to 5 and check again my reference. And I see that vehicle has a shadow. You can create a shadow very quickly with Badvisor. If you open the 3D elements and enable the plane asset, you can see that there is a texture on the floor. Here you can open the asset, click on the material and disconnect it. Now go to the materials and add a shadow-only material and connect it to the plane. Open the directional light and click on the shadow menu and enable it. You can also further tweak the shadow by changing the color into a darker one and making the edges blurry through the settings on the directional light. Now our scene is almost done. But what we are missing is a configurator as the reference website, an UI that allows us to click and switch between the different models. Luckily for us, Badvisor has a library in which we can add quickly a pre-made overlay that offer us already those options. In the outliner, click on top right option that says Add, Replace. This will open a window, then click on top left and select Badvisor. This will show all the free items that we provide, such as materials, assets, and more. Click on Overlays and select the first option called Scrollable Bottom Bar, check on Add and Confirm. Now, here we have a full customized UI that we can use and modify as we see fit. We can add or delete icons or change the images. As for the images for the icons, we can drag and drop all of them into our scene. I am going to hold Alt and press 1 to close them all. Go to the overlays and open the menu. To change the image, you can just double-click and select the image based on the thumbnail. In this case, we want a black color, then click Confirm. We have successfully added our first icon, but now we need to finish the rest of them. Double-click again and select the next one. I have all the images connected to the UI, but now I will connect the timelines to the UI to interactively change when I click on the icons. Open the overlay and click on the black model. Here, you see that there is an image and one option that is called Button 1. Click on it, and here below, under Scene Action, open the drop-down menu and select the timeline. Then, we can repeat the same step for the white color and connect the timeline. You can also rename them accordingly by double-clicking on the name. Go back to 3D, and now you can successfully switch between colors. Finally, I can connect all the timelines into the icons and my configurator is completed. That is all for this tutorial. I hope that you enjoyed and learned one or two new things about Badvisor. Thank you for watching.